So you might have seen the news about a week and a half ago about a Mexican influencer who was shot dead on live stream, on camera, in front of the whole world. Now, I've been meaning to talk about this topic for a little while, and in this video, I'm going to kind of recap what happened, and I'm going to tell you some of the dark gang-related reasons that have now surfaced as to why this on-camera, live on Twitch murder might have actually taken place. I think it was Twitch or it was Kick. I don't really know where people be streaming these days. I don't know if it was they might have had a whole nother streaming service in Mexico, but it's a pretty messed up situation. And just like the gangs in America, it turns out that it might have actually been as simple as a hat that might have got this person killed on live stream. So before I go any further, I just want to warn you guys, I want to give you guys a trigger warning. This video is going to have some, you know, harmful themes in it. I'm not condoning the gang activity, I'm condemning it, and I'm making this video for journalistic, documentary, and artistic purposes. This is news reporting in the public interest. I want to let you guys know about this criminal gang. I don't condone it, I condemn it, okay? And if you're not willing to hear about any of these themes, if you're not comfortable hearing of themes about death, violence, gang activity, then you might want to pick another video. But here's the footage, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this, but obviously the footage itself where the incident actually takes place has been completely censored. And I'm going to kind of skip over the exact moment it happens. I'm going to skip out, but I want to show you the context of what actually happened, and then I'm going to explain to you exactly what this is all about. But I want you to pay attention to this person's hat with the feather in it. This is very important.
Decirle a todos mis hermanos que en esta vida soy afortunado. Que se vaya la verga, Uber. Mira, mira. ¡Yo! Vamos a ir al KFC, me tiró la copia. Ah, KFC tiró la copia. Literal, KFC. Vale, va KFC tirando la copia del KFC a recorrer. Ahí está el sonido de la felicidad. Es festejarlo. ¡Hola, pobreza, plebe! ¡Es festejar eso! ¡Es festejar el primer viaje! Ahora póngale a comenzar usted con su dedito ahí. El primer viaje. Póngale ahí. Bautizado. Vámonos. Mira, guachen. Ahora el entrenamiento, Baranga. Te estaciono porque te tienes que ir a pie porque a la vueltecita está la ventanilla para repartidores, oiga.
Vengo por un pedido. Oiga, ya cayó la primera chamba.
Cayó la primera chamba.
Oiga, no dejan.
¿Cómo?
No hay tiras, unos 10 minutos.
No.
10 minutos.
Oiga, nos van a regañar, oiga. ¿Qué podemos hacer ahí, oiga?
No.
Oficina, tenemos un retraso ahí de 10 minutos, para que estén bien pendientes.
Reporte ahí, oiga, porque si no... Vámonos, chicos.
Estamos esperando un pedido.
No, la moto.
Yes.
No, oiga, me sentí bien mal, oiga.
No, esos chavos me han miedo.
So they're saying dudes are riding past them on motorcycles and on mopeds, and they're kind of concerned about what's going on. I'm going to warn you in a minute that there's going to be a motorcycle that comes back and shots going to be fired. It's going to be blurred. You're not going to see any violence, but you're gonna know what happened.
Un cascazo esa marega y sí.
Guajiro, ¿te acuerdas cuando nos asaltaron en un camión?
No más que me cayó y pedido.
So they pull up and they pretty much immediately open fire. I'm going to completely take it off screen while this happens. No. As you can see, there basically is a shot that's fired, and there was an uncut version of that video where you do see what happened uncensored. It wasn't graphic, but the brutality of what went down was horrific, and it was just execution style. Now, soon after, it would continue seemingly on stream to show the whole area closed off, and, you know, what looks like militarized police in the area, basically. So yeah, really sad situation. So there was plenty of news reports on this incident. It was about 9 days ago at the time of recording this video. So I'll catch you up with that, and I'm going to tell you some of the dark reasons why this might have gone down, and specifically the hat that might have actually caused this.
This influencer was shot dead during a live stream in Mexico. Cesar Gastelum and his friends were streaming outside a fast food restaurant when two people wearing helmets pulled up on a motorcycle. The driver then fires a gun at Gastelum.
Okay, I don't even want to risk showing you what happened there, but...
Authorities confirmed that he was shot and killed in Culiacan, a city in northwestern Mexico. Mexican authorities say they're investigating whether the attack may have been linked to some of Gastelum's social media posts, referencing a criminal group. They have not identified a motive or any suspects. Gastelum was known for his comedy videos and had almost 600,000 followers on TikTok. Fellow influencer Alejandro Fierro was live streaming on Kick when the shooting occurred. His Instagram stories show how the night evolved, from promoting the stream to then later tragically posting memorial messages about his friend, saying it was, quote, the worst day of my life. CNN has reached out to Fierro for comment. Culiacan is in Sinaloa, a region that's home to the Sinaloa Cartel, formerly led by the infamous drug trafficker El Chapo. Culiacan has been gripped by violence as rival factions of the Sinaloa cartel battle for control of the region. This shooting also echoes another high-profile live stream killing in Mexico. Beauty influencer Valeria Marquez was shot dead during a TikTok live stream at her.
So I did a video about the Valeria Marquez situation, obviously, so you'll understand this is what's going on. It says, I like that they blur the face of the criminal to protect their privacy, probably out of fear. They're saying it's disturbing. His friend had to witness that horrific moment that will haunt them. They're saying $10, the shooter will never be caught. But that's the thing we're starting to see, especially in Mexico. They're making more effort now to try and catch them. They're getting less seemingly scared of the cartels, and the Americans are providing a lot of support. But anyway, that's another story. Okay, the reaction to this on Reddit was intense. Okay, I'm not going to show you the clip again, but obviously this was going around in Chiracology, which is obviously the Chicago gang subreddit. It says, after the first time the bike passed by that close, they should have just left. Instead, they joked about hitting them with the helmet if they tried anything. Says, you understand them, right? Did he say that in earshot of dude, and that's why he spun back? Or does it just seem like cartel stuff? Because I don't know what he said to judge. It said they drove past them multiple times in the beginning. The friend in the black hat said he doesn't feel good about them, so that was likely the second drive-by. First to scout, second to confirm, third pass-by to execute. This was 100% a targeted killing. It says it seems to be cartel-related. Reading through r/Mexico, I saw multiple people say the guy who was killed is a money launderer for Los Chapitos, which is a small group of influencers and artists in Mexico with ties to Los Chapitos, led by El Chapo's son. Said sombrero guys support one side of the cartel, the bikers support the other side. So yeah, they're saying out in places like that, you got to move accordingly. My father was an army officer stationed in Latin America a few times growing up. On top of someone picking up that you're not from there and thinking shit is sweet, someone might target you intentionally. The family members get a crash course on situational awareness and stuff like that. It says 2 dudes on one bike in Mexico. Yeah, them saxophones about to start playing. They're saying, why is the second guy even on there? The driver is the one who shot. It says he's an apprentice. Next one is his turn, studying for the cartel exams. That's crazy. People saying head tap instantly. These dudes really just slime people out like it ain't nothing. Probably because they're cartel members and the streamers got them on camera. They're saying, why did they let the other 2 and the cameramen go? It says they have certain people they have to target. The guy killed was Cesar Gastelum, and his family are narcos and associated with El Chapo's son's faction in Sinaloa. They're at war with another faction. They're saying, why is he just standing there lacking? Exactly. All right. Why was he out there lacking? It's crazy. They're saying live streaming in Sinaloa is tweaking. They shut the shit down immediately. Them comments saying dude was in with them cartels. People saying, I don't understand how people be so loose, bro. If you're involved in any criminal activity, especially with a cartel, don't you think you should move smarter and not be dangling around outside? I'm not going to lie. Even before I made a couple of cartel videos, people talking about, yo, we going on a trip down to Mexico. You want to come down to Mexico? No. You want to drive down to Tijuana from LA? No. You want to go to, what's these places? Mexico City? You want to go? No, I don't. I don't. You don't. No, I don't want to go to Mexico. No offense to my Mexican homies, all right? I ain't pulling up Mexico. Ain't happening, all right? I'm more likely to pull up to Chirac than Mexico. And even that, I'm like, I don't know, all right? It's crazy. They're saying they didn't turn his Wi-Fi off for live streaming. He obviously did something to the cartel. Says that's literally what I'm saying. He's involved with the cartel and live streaming in Sinaloa at that. Does that sound smart? I heard he was involved. His family was laundering for the Los Chapitos, the frogs, that rival faction decided to shut that shit down. Supposedly they were looking for that other person, but got him as collateral since he was an easier target. It says if they were more alert, they could have flipped it, but they was loafing. The first one called it too. I'd have been gone first chance. That is crazy. So they're saying he wasn't expecting anything like this because he wasn't the one necessarily involved in the illegal activities, so he was comfortable streaming his location, but his immediate and close family members are involved. And in Mexico, anybody can get it if they're blood related. He should have knew this, honestly. He had direct knowledge of how the various cartels get active. All right, saying life's crazy. You think you're having fun, then someone just taps your fajita. That's crazy. Buddy got stream sniped literally Straight face shot. It's messed up, man. I'm not trying to make light of it, but obviously this subreddit is pretty well versed in death. People saying that was clean, not praising, but no switches were involved. It's crazy, man. It's actually a crazy situation. So this is another reporting. This is outside of the kind of gangster world. This is the live stream fail subreddit, and this is more normie live stream fans reacting to this. So a couple of seconds earlier, skinny kid with a black sombrero had a mild panic attack when he saw the motorcycle circle around the first time. He wanted to leave too. I think you got to trust your instincts in those scenarios, man. If something ain't right, get the fuck out of there straight away. All right. Clearly tells the other two the motorcycle looked suspicious when it did its first drive-by. Immediately brought up a story of when they were attacked or robbed before. That's why they're laughing about when the bike comes back in this clip. Bruh. It ain't making sense, all right? It ain't making sense. People saying, why, for what? All right, it's all to do with the cartel. We know that, okay? So we got the gist. So look, I'm going to give you some more backstory now, all right? There's a YouTuber called 44 Vato who basically claimed that the shooting might have been tied to Caesar's hat and his past cartel affiliations. Specifically, the hat has got some very deep, dark meanings, and I'm going to break all of that down to you with this clip and then another article afterwards. So I'm just going to be careful about what I show you here. Oh, hang on.
For you guys, but I can't even play the whole thing. And this just shows, because I know that in the past I said that reporters and journalists have one of the hardest jobs. Like, this job that I do is one of the hardest jobs ever. But I honestly think that streamers in these coming years are going to be right up there with the reporters and the journalists. Now, one thing that I don't understand is how there was literally a part in that live stream in which one of his friends actually looked at the two dudes in the motorcycle, right? And he said, bro, I don't have a good feeling about this.
Vámonos, chicos. No, la moto. No, oiga, me sentí bien mal, oiga.
No, esos chavos me han miedo.
He told his friend that. He told the dude who got killed, that Cesar Gastelum, he literally told him that. He said, bro, I don't have a good feeling about this, because there was two dudes in a motorcycle with helmets on. And if you have been to Mexico, you know that people don't really ride around with helmets. So the fact that these two fools were literally riding around in one motorcycle with helmets on, you knew that they had some bad intentions. Everybody seen this, bro. I mean, this was literally broadcasted. I don't know how much viewers this man had, but what I do know is that now there's more and more reports that are coming out, and now more people are saying that he had connections, that he switched from one side and then went over to the other side.
Arriba quién, Ramón.
But all in all, they're saying to never, ever, ever wear a sombrero, especially in Culiacán, Sinaloa, because they're saying that it's the gente del sombrero. But they're saying that bro already has some past connections to Los Toys. Of course, Los Toys, Padranito Toys, Marquitos Toys, all those foods right there. And of course, they say that the Marquitos Toys guys are affiliated with certain individuals in Mexico. And that's why they're saying that this entire thing happened. However, chat, I cannot confirm nor deny those things that people are saying, because of course I don't really live in that lifestyle. What I know is,
so look, it was pretty serious, all right? It's saying he needs to upgrade his mask for real. He talking that talk. So look, here's an article that kind of explains the backstory with this sombrero, this hat, and the gang meanings of it, right? It says, how do the sombreros on the heads of executed people mean? Why they got to show me that? That's crazy. Okay, all right. I'm going to have blurred that, but like there was basically an image of 5 bodies laid out with sombreros on it. Someone should have given me a warning that that's what I was about to see, because that was a little bit much. It says in Culiacan, Sinaloa, 5 bodies were recently found near a water park on the outskirts of Culiacan, Mexico. Display of violence linked to the ongoing conflict between factions of the Sinaloa cartel. It says the corpses were positioned against a wall adorned with large sombreros on their heads and smaller ones on their bodies. What appeared to be a deliberate and symbolic gesture, according to a recount by specialist journalist Ion Grillo. The incident is part of a growing trend of body messaging, where cartels leave cryptic signs on or near victims to send messages. I ain't never heard of nothing like this in no Chirac. All right. This is crazy. Though its exact meaning is often unclear, Grillo explained the sombreros could be a reference to the Maiza faction of the Sinaloa cartel, loyal to Ismael El Mayo Zambada. It remains uncertain whether the victims were Maiza or if the killers left the hats as a taunt. The ambiguity is common in the escalating cartel war between the Maiza and their rivals, the Chapitos, the journalist said. Days earlier, a severed head was discovered in a pizza box on a Culiacan street, possibly referencing the Chapitos, who are nicknamed Chapiza, a wordplay on the word pizza. So it says this wave of violence comes as the internal conflict within the Sinaloa cartel, which began on September 9th, continues to paralyze the city of Culiacan. The fighting has led to an increase in murders, kidnapping, and fear among residents and businesses and schools in the city, which has a population of 1 million. It remained closed for a week after the violence erupted, marking an unprecedented level of disruption in a region long accustomed to cartel-related unrest. The economic impact has been significant, with many residents unable to work, adding to the growing anxiety. We was having COVID lockdowns, they having cartel lockdowns. This is crazy. So this was another X post that was going around that kind of touched on the hat. This is him saying, I've already been wearing the hat for a while. It says, this is how the influencer Cesar Gastelum was showing off on social media, hinting at belonging to the Hat People faction, linked to the hitmen of Maito Flaco, the son of Ismael El Mayo Zambada. It says messing around with hallucinations comes with its consequences. So apparently these hats allegedly are kind of connected to some kind of like hit squad, basically, that, you know, had something to do with certain hitmen, right? So look at this. Okay, I'm probably not able to play that, but as you can see, he's repping the hat heavily, and it's the hat with the feather on. It's not just a regular hat. It's got a little, you know what I'm saying? It's got a little meaning to it. So he'd been repping these hats. This was like a, you know, a famous clip of him with the hat on too. There was another kind of post going around. There's like little hats in his car. And then these are baseball hats with the feathered hat as like a decal on it, and even a wristband with the hat on. So this really some gang membership stuff. All right. It's very, very interesting. Obviously, he was wearing the hat in the whole live stream. So you see all that, right? So this is kind of a detailed article that's going to get into the kind of hat allegiances with these narco gangsters. Okay, it says the Sinaloa cartel is also a war against influencers. With the murder of Cesar Gastelum, a 25-year-old whose death was recorded in a live broadcast, Sinaloa has 9 content creators been killed since September 2024. So this says the Sinaloa cartel's internecine war is not only waged against gunmen, it's also been about one of the two tools they've used the most in the last 2 years to expand their reach: content creators, influencers, and social media channels in which criminal propaganda is spread. Now, I was thinking, what is internecine? All right, I had to look that up real quick. This is an adjective that describes a conflict or struggle which happens within a single group, organization, or nation. So it's an internal conflict. So there's in-house beef, basically, between the Sinaloa cartel members. All right, that was a big old word that might as well have been a Spanish word. But anyway, it says the latest case is that of Cesar Gastelum, a 25-year-old who was killed Tuesday night in Culiacan when he was recording with 2 other young people outside a well-known fast food restaurant in Tres Rios, a subdivision just about 200 meters from the building of the Attorney General's office in Sinaloa. It says, those kids scare me, Cesar managed to say, when he saw 2 other young people riding a motorcycle. In the next scene, you can see how they park the motorcycle next to the content creator. One of them gets out, uncovers a gun, and kills him with a shot in the head. Everything was recorded on video and immediately circulated on thousands of devices through dissemination channels on Meta, Telegram, TikTok, X, and more. Many of these channels were created at the beginning of the conflict between Los Maitos and Los Chapitos, serving as sources of propaganda to implant narratives. Depending on which one you are in, you can know the supposed winners of this war that has left at least 3,055 murders and more than 4,000 disappearances of people. That is crazy statistics. Like 3,055 murders, 4,000 disappearances that could well be murders too. That's insane. So it says on these channels was names like Orange Reportes, Belichos, Melino Noticias, Culiacan, MTZ, Culiacan Activo, Joyas, del something. It's annoying when these we make these backups, we always lose a little bit of the page. It's annoying. It says videos of the crimes have been disseminated, spaces for discussion have been created, and different versions have also been circulated. So what's happening to the cartels is what happened to like the Chicago, the New York, the Los Angeles, the Jacksonville gang members like 10 years ago. It's all coming on social media now, okay? There's probably a trap law, Ross, for the cartels, realistically. So it says nothing is verified. It's only taken for granted that it might be true in the absence of official information and the gaps generated by in areas silenced by the crimes itself. Okay, excuse me. This has been a translated article, I think, so the grammar might not be on point. My apologies. But anyway, it says the dissemination of messages, however, is not only on these platforms. Meteoric figures have also emerged, men and women who present themselves as content creators who one day talk about fashionable places, foods, brands, and others about people and characters within criminal groups. Sounds like a bit like me. Federal Security Cabinet reported in this case that the murder of Cesar Gastelum is being investigated under different hypotheses. One of them points to the influencers' publications, in which some of them he alluded to a faction of a criminal group. On Gastelum's social media accounts, the young man can be seen wearing a hat with jewelry inscribed with the letters MF, as Ismael Zambida Sicarios, the El Meito Flaco is called. Those same photos circulated on the broadcast channels as if the murder was justified. The latest crime has also opened the discussion on whether some of those murdered have served for propaganda between criminal groups. The truth is that since the how do I say this again? I want to get I'm on my pronunciation shit lately, right?
Internecine.
The truth is that since the internecine war between factions of the Sinaloa cartel begun, violence has been vicious against influencers and content creators. 9 have been killed since September 2024. So firstly, it's Jesus Miguel Vivanco Garcia, aka El Jasper. He sounded a bit cartelly with that nickname. Killed on November the 23rd, 2024. His body was found lying on a dirt road when it was found in the Syndicate of Costa Rica, south of Culiacan. The data shared by the authorities indicate that he was tortured and shot to death. Leo Bardo Aispuro Soto, aka Gordo Perucci. He was murdered on December the 9th in Culiacan. Armed men entered his home in the 21 De Marzo neighborhood and shot him to death, and even his wife was wounded by a bullet. Austin Paul, aka El Pinky. His body was located on January the 10th, 2025 in Culiacan. Local authorities said he was found tied hand and foot with a rope next to a motel in the south of the city. Adalberto Pena, aka El Tata. He was murdered on January the 23rd, 2025. The attack occurred while he was exercising in a gym in the Bonanza subdivision in front of a shopping plaza. Victor Manuel, aka El Brasileiro, an influencer known for his motorcycle videos, disappeared on March 22nd, 2025, when a group of armed men took him from the workshop that he managed. 5 days later, his body was located in Culiacan. Gail Gastro, aka Gail Toys, he was murdered March 28th, 2025 in the El Sauzal neighborhood municipality in Ensenada, Baja California. He was known for being the brother of influencer Marquitos Toys. Gerardo Moya, aka El Jerry, influencer murdered on November the 16th, 2025 in Culiacan, 300 meters from the Sinaloa Attorney General's office. On social media, he posed with photographs and he posted photographs and videos posing with firearms and luxury vehicles. And there was Camilo Ochoa, aka El Aluciam, the content creator that dedicated interviews on his YouTube channels and interviews with the media. He was murdered August 16th, 2025 at his home in state of Morelos. The murdered influencers have all appeared on lists disseminated on social media channels. Some were even pointed out in flyers thrown in the streets with drones and small planes at the beginning of the confrontation between these criminal groups. The same messages have been loaded with slogans and death threats. To date, only the case of Cesar Gastelum have the authorities aimed the investigation of the attack towards the publications he made in support of a specific criminal group. Very interesting. So in addition to that, I want to kind of touch on a couple more things. So let's talk about this first, okay? So one of his friends that was just discussed in that last article was kind of killed in December 2024, and it's definitely kind of giving the same kind of vibes. This famous Mexican YouTuber El Gordo Perucci murdered along with wife in Sinaloa. Social media influencers and YouTubers have been the target of drug cartel groups in recent weeks due to alleged ties with rival cliques. It's crazy. So there he is, El Gordo Perucci. All right. It says drug cartels in the Mexican state of Sinaloa have near complete control in all aspects of society, both the physical and virtual one, with many social media influencers and celebrities using their platforms to either share cartel propaganda or to glorify their illicit activities. As the Latin Times reported in recent weeks, criminal groups have relied on social media to spread their message and gain support for their cause. In late October, a famous Culiacan TikToker known as El Chilango was killed by two men while recording one of his videos. Almost 2 months later, another internet celebrity known as El Gordo Perucci has met the same fate after a group of armed men opened fire against him and his wife. Lebuardo Aspuro was a famous YouTuber and content creator who amassed thousands of followers across different social media platforms. In most of his videos, El Gordo Perucci played games with his friends, went out to eat at restaurants, and at times made jokes about organized crime groups and flashed firearms. The attack against him took place right outside of his home, located in the 21 de Marzo neighborhood. Aspuro's wife was also at the scene. Both were transported to hospital with gunshot wounds, but the YouTuber died on the way to hospital, and his wife died. Oh man, his wife died too. His wife died while receiving medical assistance at the hospital. I didn't know she died too. That's so sad. According to InfoBay, the YouTuber shared 2 videos the same day that he was murdered. During the first video, uploaded around 2 p.m., he can be seen making a complaint after an alleged act of vandalism took place at his Culiacan home. Aspuro said in the video that someone had stolen a few of the Christmas lights that he had used to decorate his house. He added that although he counted with security cameras, he had to turn them off as a rumor that had spread across Culiacan warned people of getting rid of their cameras to avoid any video evidence that could incriminate cartel activities. Ever since turf wars begun, I haven't uploaded anything, he said. I didn't take them off, but I did turn them off, so I can't see at what time it happened or who did it, Aspuro said in the video. 6 hours later, El Gordo Perucci uploaded his final video where he would be playing games with a few of his friends and other social media celebrities. In late November, another YouTuber was murdered in Culiacan after he had allegedly had ties with the Sinaloa cartel faction known as Los Chapitos. Jesus Miguel Vivanto Garcia, also known as El Jasper, was found dead in a remote location in Culiacan. Authorities that found his body confirmed that El Jasper had been a victim of an attack that left 70 gunshot wounds all over his body. Vivanto Garcia made several collaborations with Marcos Eduardo Castro Cardenas, also known as Marquitos Toys, another famous Culiacan YouTuber with alleged ties to Los Chapitos. According to investigative journalist Annabel Hernandez, Marquitos Toys was involved in fentanyl trafficking and provision of weapons. In a podcast, Hernandez said that Castro Cardenas is one of the leaders of hitmen employed by the cartel faction that focuses on providing the group with money and firearms in their war against La Mesa. In November of 2023, Marquitos Toys was trending on social media after he shared a video of himself crying after Nestor Isidro Perez Salas, aka El Nini, was arrested by Mexican authorities. Perez Salas served as security chief for Los Chapitos before being detained. Despite his alleged connections with Los Chapitos, Castro Cardenas recently left Mexico after 2 of his restaurants were targeted for attacks, setting them on fire with homemade bombs. That is crazy. So I'm going to tell you a few more crazy things that just kind of ties all this together, because it does sound like, and as this next article from The Guardian is going to explain, the cartel in 2025 basically declared a war on influencers. Literally, they declared a war on influencers. It's crazy. So it says, in a war in Mexico between cartel factions, the influencers are now becoming targets. Targets of influencers reflects their alleged role in money laundering and their place in cartel propaganda. So earlier this year, pamphlets were fluttered down from a helicopter over Culiacan, capital of the Mexican state of Sinaloa, accusing an array of influencers and musicians of serving organized crime. 4 of the 25 faces of the pamphlet already had eliminated stamped across them. Since then, 2 more have been picked off. This is crazy. They really flood in. Like, bro, this is insane. Imagine like Lil Durk flying a drone over Chicago and dropping a bunch of pamphlets with pictures of like me and Trench's News and 1090 Jake talking about these are the ops. Like, this is insane. So the latest was Camilo Ochoa, a narco turned YouTuber who was shot on 17th of August. In the midst of a war between factions of the Sinaloa cartel, influencers have become targets, reflecting both their alleged role in money laundering and their place in cartel propaganda, and the parallel war being waged online. So this is now, cartels are now going online and net banging like a lot of the Chicago and LA rap drill gang connections did, but it seems like nobody's off limits. It's absolutely crazy. This is just insane. The conflict in Sinaloa erupted after Ismael El Mayo Zambada, who founded the Sinaloa cartel with Joaquim El Chapo Guzman, was detained by U.S. authorities along with one of Guzman's sons after a small plane touched down in Texas, July 2024. El Mayo accused El Chapo's son of betraying and delivering him to U.S. authorities. Now a faction led by El Mayo's son is waging war against another led by the two sons of El Chapo who remain free in Mexico. The conflict has left almost 2,000 dead so far, including the 6 influencers on the pamphlet and several others not on it. The pamphlet was apparently put out by El Mayo's faction since it accused the influencers of laundering money for El Chapo's sons. After an earlier spate of attacks on influencers in Sinaloa, including a YouTuber known as El Jasper, who was found with 70 bullet wounds, others on the list sought safety in other states or countries. But now they're being hunted beyond the borders of Sinaloa, and Ochoa was just killed in the state of Morelos, and before that, Gael Castro, the brother of the famous influencer Marquitos Toys, was gunned down in the state of Baja California. This is just insane. So that photo is Marquitos Toys with 2 of his siblings, Kevin and the deceased Gail. Okay, that is crazy. Marquitos Toys was 26. He took the top spot on the pamphlets, which were distributed in January. He began to grow a huge following about 6 years ago and has courted controversy for his friendship with people close to El Chapo's sons. His jet-set lifestyle of sports cars and designer brands. Marquitos Toys was included on a list of 64 influencers in Sinaloa, recently reported by Milenio to be under investigation by Mexico's Financial Intelligence Unit on suspicion of having followings artificially inflated by organized crime groups. Don't tell me the cartels are botting the influencers. They're using the influencers. This is crazy. They're botting the influencers. This is nuts. They bot in the influencers to make them bigger than they are, and then it's part to clean the money. So they run the money through the influencers, and they have to give money back to the cartels. So they bot in and probably send in donations. They probably doing Kick donations and sending the bots on Kick, and they saying, yo, you got to kick that money. We just donated to you on Kick. You better kick that money back to the cartel. That shit's crazy. Marquitos Toys denied all the allegations, but he's since been everywhere except Sinaloa since the war broke out. That would be smart. But his parents' house in Culiacan was riddled with bullets, and on the pavement outside, someone had carved MF, the mark of Mayito Flaco, the son of El Mayo. That's interesting. I'm going to tell you more about him in a sec. Organized crime is always looking for new ways to launder money. Every inch of the ecosystem is explored by financial analysts, said Salvador Meya, a lawyer specializing in illicit finance. But Meya added that influencers may remain a relatively minor channel for money laundering, and their true utility for organized crime groups lies in the realm of propaganda. Cartels have their own PR departments. What we have is a propaganda machine. That is unbelievable, really. Organized crime groups have long used the gruesome videos of torture, confession, execution, or messages scrawled on banners, often left alongside bodies, to send messages and manipulate public opinion. More recently, they've taken to social media, where narco influencers advertise a certain lifestyle and closeness to organized crime, often couched in aspirational terms and in content designed to appeal for teenagers. So this is how they're sucking these kids into these gang wars. It's nuts. Now these influencers have been sucked into a parallel propaganda war in Sinaloa, where they might be asked to convey certain messages and where they themselves have become targets, said Javier Lausas, director of Building Spaces for Peace, an NGO in Sinaloa. This is a war, and in any war, propaganda matters. That is mental. So the last thing I want to show you is this really interesting article. Okay, and this was from March. So let me show you this, all right? It says, Narco Hats, a look at the cartel merchandise industry. Okay, this is from Borderland Beat, reporting on the Mexican cartel drug war. It's a blog dedicated to it, very interesting group, right? So you can go and support them. They're basically doing the most when it comes to this kind of coverage. How can I just see? I just want to see this part. There we go. It says, so a Google image, look at these hats, all right? Look at these hats. The MF, as we said a minute ago, MF, see this? It's the M with the little top hat on it. What was I telling you? This LA with the sombrero on it. I'm not gonna lie, if it wasn't gonna get me smoked, these hats are cool. Like I'd put one of these in the collection, but I don't know about that. You might get smoked wearing one of these. I thought I couldn't wear my Seattle Mariners hat. I got fools telling me what hats I'm allowed to wear in LA. Come to find out, you wear the hat with the top hat on, you wear the MF hat, you might be MF'd. All right, you might be MF dead next. So this is a Google image search for Maíz Agoras returns dozens of results. One snapback features a gold MF and a horse, the logo used to represent Ismael Mayito Flaco Zambada Sicarios, the current leader of the Sinaloa cartel faction built by his father, Ismael El Mayo Zambada. Can I make this bigger without losing everything? Cool. El Mayo Zambada. Okay. So another displays a larger M topped with a sombrero, a reference to El Mayo himself, known as El M Grande and El del Sombrero. A third reworks the iconic Maseca cornflower logo, replacing the brand name with Maiza. They range from coded to relatively overt. An outsider might scroll past the MF Horse logo without a second thought, while the Maseca parody at least puts a recognizable name in front of anyone paying attention. The hats are listed on Amazon, eBay, and Mercado Libre. All of it's available to anyone willing to place an order. I'm not going to... Maybe I'll just get one to wear around the house, because I ain't going to lie, the designs is kind of fire. Narco fashion has been evolving alongside the drug war for over a decade, but the hats do not come from nowhere. In Mexico, particularly among young men, custom-designed snapbacks and fitted caps have their own culture that has nothing to do with cartels. Designers produce intricate, detailed work. The scene prizes craftsmanship and exclusivity. Those are not simple baseball caps. They are collector's items. The narco hat market grafts itself into the existing infrastructure. The production methods are the same. The distribution channels are the same, and the audience overlaps. The difference is the imagery and the fact you might get smoked for wearing one of these hats. The precedent. None of this started with hats. Narco fashion has moved through distinct phases over the past 15 years, each one more deliberate than the last. In 2011, several high-ranking traffickers were arrested wearing Ralph Lauren polo shirts and knockoff narco polos flooded street stalls across Mexico almost overnight. That was entirely organic. They wore a brand that they liked, they got arrested in it, and the street copied what they saw on television. Bro, I'm telling you, bro, the cartels... They just catching up with Chicago, Chief Keef, O Block, Bang Bang. This is the Chief Keef special. We done seen Chief Keef rocking this shirt a bunch of times, man. This gang culture is just so widespread. I just find it fascinating, okay? And that's a fly-ass shirt. I'm not disrespecting anybody. I want one of these. It says, in 2016, El Chapo sat down for an interview with Sean Penn for Rolling Stone wearing a paisley button-down from Barabbas, a men's apparel company based in downtown Los Angeles. The shirt sold out. Barabbas put El Chapo's photo on their homepage and marketed it as their most wanted shirt. That was one step more mediated. A legitimate brand with no cartel connections found itself at the center of a cultural movement and leaned into it. The demand was real, but the supply chain was clean. By 2019, El Chapo's own daughter, Alejandrina Guzman Salazar, debuted the El Chapo 701 clothing line. The 701, a reference to his since removed ranking on the Forbes list of the world's richest people. That's crazy. His wife, Emma Coronel, launched a competing line. The booth was the most visited at the show. That was no longer organic or opportunistic. The family was selling the man directly, turning a convicted drug trafficker serving life in a Colorado Supermax into a consumer brand. I need to get some El Chapo merch. I'm not going to lie, this is sounding fire, and it's like, I don't want to support the cartels, but at the same time, like, I swear I've got like an Asali Pablo Escobar button-up shirt. I'm thinking this is the new gen. It says each stage moves the commercialization closer to the source. The hats are the next step. They skip the middleman entirely. Two markets. The hat economy operates on two levels. The first is commodity. These are the hats that you find on Amazon, eBay, and Mercado Libre. Generic designs featuring Chapiza iconography, Mayo branding, CDN insignia, available for purchase by anyone at any time. No scarcity, no exclusivity, no relationship between the buyer and the organization. This layer exists in the same commercial space as any other piece of fan merchandise. The platforms hosting these listings do not appear to treat cartel branded merchandise any differently to a Yankee cap. Beyond e-commerce hats with cartel designs that are sold in stores within Mexico's and at flea markets on both sides of the border. So saying the Lord of the Roosters, also known as El Mencho from the CJNG, is omnipresent in Urupan, Michoacan. You can get a hat with his nickname at any local OXO. Okay, let me just scroll through some of these higher quality pictures. That's crazy. I ain't gonna lie, that's crazy. Can I scroll down? Can't scroll down. You get the gist. The second level is more interesting. A tier of niche designers and producers has emerged, creating custom designs tied to specific factions. They operate on the streetwear model, build hype, announce limited drops, and sell out quickly. Come to tell me the cartel have got their own Supreme and they're doing limited drops and it's sold out. The designers are not publicly identified as cartel associates. The faction alignment is unmistakable. A producer who exclusively makes Chapiza designs, who moves product through the social media channels populated by Chapiza-aligned accounts, who use imagery and language specific to that faction. The alignment can be inferred with confidence even without a formal declaration. So, yeah... Interesting hat there. It says hat with a white van in the background, a reference to the van that was left in Culiacan with multiple dead bodies, allegedly members of La Maiza. Wow. These are not hobbyists. The designs are specific, the production quality is high, and the distribution model is sophisticated. They function as a lifestyle brand for designated terrorist organizations. So where do the hats end up? This is a long article, but I'm all for it. Low-level sicarios wear them in photos and videos posted to Instagram and Telegram, pose with weapons, faction insignia visible on the brim. For most at this level, the hat and the patch are the extent of the branding. Embroidered patches reflecting faction symbols show up on tactical vests and clothing alongside the hats, serving the same function as a uniform for groups that do not issue one. Further up the hierarchy, the branding becomes more personalized and expensive. Gold-plated pistols engraved with a leader's name or symbol, but the hat remains the most accessible entry point into the visual identity of an organization available to anyone. The hats and patches also appear in law enforcement press releases when Mexican military or police conduct operations and display the seizure for cameras. The items laid out on the table often include firearms, ammunition, drugs, tactical gear, and alongside all of it, branded hats and patches bearing the factions of the faction insignia. So they getting busted with gang merch. I mean, they remember when Big U got busted? They said they found a Seattle Mariners hat. That's the Rolling 60s hat. Like, you know, they taken that into evidence too. That's crazy though. Wow. The branding extends beyond wearable items. Wood paddles known as tablas or tablizas, used by cartels to discipline or punish internal members or civilians who break rules in territory under cartel control, have been recovered bearing organizational logos. A recent operation in Guanajuato produced a tabliza stamped with the insignia of cartel Santa Rosa de Lima. Borderland Beat contributor El Huaso recently noted that in a police press image from the seizure, authorities had censored the tabla itself, but a small uncensored portion of the image revealed the logo. The hats show up on the tombs of fallen narco figures left as offerings alongside flowers and bottles. They appear on the bodies of cartel gunmen killed in clashes, identified after the fact, partly by the branding on their heads. Wow. So this is it's like two boots on this hat, and it's next to a tribute for the members. A hat at the tomb of Arturo Beltran Leyva. The hat features 2 white boots, a reference to ABL's nickname El Botas Blancas. And then there's the other end of the cycle. After the clashes, the winning side has been documented collecting the hats of the dead rivals, mocking the fallen, and burning the hats on camera. Now, I'm not sure I can show you this one. Okay, I thought this was going to be like footage of a murder, but it's just him. He's throwing the hat onto a fire. I don't condone this. I don't support the burning of this hat. I don't even know what the hat means, right? But they throwing the hat on there. I guess they stomp it on the fire, or I'm not really sure. But obviously, this is disrespect that they're doing. I don't condone this, all right? But this is what's going on. So it says I just realized something. This has been off the whole video. Oopsie. Make this a bit bigger. Okay, cool. So it says, intended audience. It's impossible to know with certainty who is buying these hats. I think you can make a guess. The buyer base spans a wide range and each segment interacts with the product differently. Some buyers are actual cartel members. For them, the hat is functional, a piece of informal uniform that signals affiliation in the same way a patch on a vest does. Others have no real connection to organized crime at all and view the designs as aesthetically pleasing. The figures on them, not as people, but as symbols of power and wealth. They encounter the imagery through corridos, social media, and the broader narco aesthetic that has saturated Mexican popular culture. A portion of this last group falls into what's known as the alukim subculture, young people who dress, talk, and carry themselves as though they're cartel affiliated or aspire to be, but overstate, exaggerate, or outright fabricate any actual connection. The alusam. All right, let me make sure I'm saying this correctly. Let's get this one up. Let's say, how do we say that? Alucin. Let me just make sure I'm saying it correctly. I want to say everything right going forward. I might even learn some Spanish, to be honest with you guys. Alcuin. Okay, that don't seem right. That ain't got that accent on it. Spanish English. Alucin. Oh, so that translates in English to hallucinating.
Alucin.
The hallucine, so it's hallucinating. So they're hallucinating. They're tripping, thinking that they're part of the cartel, but they're just a little street hype beast. The The Alucine phenomenon is its own subject, but it matters here because it represents a consumer base that actively wants the association without the reality. The laundering question. Persistent rumors circulate around the hat economy, suggesting that some of these operations function as money laundering vehicles. No concrete evidence has surfaced publicly, but the suspicion itself may function as a feature rather than as a flaw. It adds to the mystique. The most prominent figure at the intersection of the hat economy, influencer culture, and the laundering question is Marcos Eduardo Castro Cardenas. Let me make sure. Am I saying, is it Cardenas? Let me see how I pronounce that. Let me make sure I get that right. Cardenas. Yeah. Better known as Marquitos Toys, born in Culiacan, Marquitos built a massive social media following on YouTube and Instagram. He also sells hats. Interesting. He sells hats. Not explicitly Cartel branded designs, but a commercial operation that has drawn scrutiny given everything surrounding it. So is that saying eliminated? So this is the poster that was going around. They were talking about this poster. I was thinking, why wasn't this in the last article? I'd love to see what they actually put out there. So this is actually what was going around. And you know what? While we're here, let me just do this. Thank God for Google Translate, all right? So this is the full translation. It says, Los Sapitos Cartel, do you know them? Report them. These people are major financiers and close collaborators of La Criza. We're coming for each and every one of you. To the general public, these people are not innocent. We respectfully ask you to stay away from these YouTubers, stop supporting and watching their content as these people fund the Saputos, little toads. No more abuse of these people. Hallucinations, violent, bullies, street men, arrogant. Wow. And it says this deleted. That's crazy. I said eliminatado, or whatever it said. Deleted. That's fucking crazy. I ain't gonna lie. That's crazy. Eliminado, send deleted. Wow. So flyers dropped by La Masia in Sinaloa accused his family of being money launderers and close collaborators of the Chapitos faction. I'm not gonna lie. Let me put this in my little document here because that is brazy. I cannot believe that. His friendship with Nestor Isidro Perez Salas, El Nini, the Chapitos' former security chief, grew further scrutiny after El Nini's arrest in October 2023. The accusations were followed by violence. His parents' house was set on fire. His brother, Gael Castro Cardenas, was murdered at a restaurant in Ensenada on March 2025, and Marquitos and his remaining family left Sinaloa. In January 2026, he went live on Kick and rejected the accusations categorically. His income comes from social media and hat sales. He said his relationship with El Nini was a personal friendship, not business. There are no drug labs, no laundering operation, no proof of any of it. There is no conviction nor formal charge on laundering, but the ecosystem around Marquitos, the hat business, the influencer operation, the faction-aligned social circles, the violence that has consumed his family sits in exactly the space where narco commerce and narco operations blur into each other. Whether that blurring is incidental or structural is the question the laundering rumors are really asking. The enforcement gap. In February 2025, the U.S. Department of State designated several major Mexican cartels as foreign terror organizations. Merchandise bearing the insignia of the Islamic terrorist organizations is nearly impossible to purchase through mainstream e-commerce. That's so interesting. The infrastructure for identifying and eliminating terrorist-branded consumer products exists and has been operational for years. Cartel-branded merchandise, by contrast, flows freely through the same platforms. Amazon, eBay, Mercado Libre, Instagram, TikTok, advertised openly, sold by vendors who in some cases even appear aligned with the organizations themselves. Google returns shopping results for faction-specific designs. The sales infrastructure varies. Some accounts operate through direct message only, taking orders via a DM and accepting payments through services like Zelle, offering shipping to both the US and Mexico. I ain't gonna lie, I don't want... some of the designs might be fire, but I don't think I want these fools having my address. I ain't gonna lie. Others have built full storefronts on Shopify. There are a large number of brands in the space, many key players in the tens of thousands of followers on Instagram, and the largest accounts surpassing 100,000. Between drops, it's common for their bios to read sold out, indicating consistent demand. They really doing the Supreme limited drops. I ain't gonna lie, this like a FIFA, they got the FIFA patch on there. Y'all are definitely not sanctioned by FIFA. They got the real deal, the MF. They got the Adidas dust bag. I don't think FIFA even have the stones to tell these guys to not use their logo. FIFA and Adidas, they might fuck around, get smoked. They don't want these fools pulling up to the World Cup. That is crazy. That is crazy. It's low-key. The design's low-key fly. Soccer jersey from Maiza, a line seller. Note the MF with the horse representing Maito Flaco and the biohazard symbol with a monkey representing deceased operator El Changuito Anthrax. I ain't gonna lie, like in Chicago, you know, when someone passes away, they do the RIP shirts. This is a whole nother level. It's a tribute to the, this is like a next level tribute jersey with the World Cup, like insane. Whether that demand is entirely authentic or partially a function of some laundering arrangement is difficult to determine. Consider a limited dropper of 1,000 hats from a single faction-aligned seller. Are they really 1,000 people ready to purchase that specific design from that specific account the moment it goes live? I think it could be, man. These guys having hallucinations, wanting to be down with the cartel. If yes, the scale of the market is remarkable in its own right. If no, something else is moving the inventory. Some sellers eschew faction loyalty entirely and carry designs for multiple organizations at once, treating the insignia as product lines rather than allegiances, and the buyers themselves participate in the marketing. Customers photograph their purchases in settings that match the aesthetic. The hat on the hood of an expensive car, on the table at a restaurant next to a steak, displayed beside a gun safe full of weapons. One account I found in my research produces narco-themed hats across the entire cartel sphere. Not limited to any single faction or organization, the account has over 200,000 followers. Its top post has 7 million views on Instagram and 400,000 likes. The design in question features Comandante Ardrilla, a former Los Zetas regional boss. He is the person who ordered the massacre of 72 migrants in San Fernando, Tamaulipas in August 2010, one of the single worst atrocities of the entire drug war. Los Zetas have had a long reputation, even among cartels, as uniquely brutal, and Ardilla's record is consistent with that reputation, but he is also not a household name. Ardilla is also known to people who follow this world closely, but he is not El Chapo, not El Mayo, not a figure with broad cultural recognition, which raises the question of what 7 million people were actually engaging with. The most likely answer is that the design simply looked good, and the vast majority of those viewers had no idea who Comandante Ardrilla was or what he did. The horror underneath the graphic is invisible to a casual scroller. The post description includes a disclaimer to who it may concern. In no way, shape or form do we promote any criminal or dangerous organizations, nor do we tolerate any kind of illegal activity. It's simply for informational purposes. It's only a simple product. The phrasing suggests that it was run through Google Translate. It's doing no legal work or moral work, but it's there. The US has established that these organizations meet the legal definition of terrorist groups and has simultaneously allowed their branding to achieve a level of commercial normalization that no other designated terrorist organization has managed, including on platforms operated by US companies. So Google's letting this fly, but me reading David's DMs is getting taken down and I'm getting punished with a strike. That's crazy. The through line. In 2011, a trafficker got arrested for wearing a polo shirt and the street copied it. Nobody was promoting a cartel. By 2016, a legitimate clothing brand benefited from an accidental celebrity moment. The money went to a showroom in Los Angeles. By 2019, the family of an infamous trafficker was selling his image directly, but there was at least the pretense of a legitimate consumer product. The hats have moved past all of that. The designs reference specific factions, specific leaders, specific conflicts. The producers in some cases appear aligned with the organizations. At a minimum, these businesses promote designated terrorist organizations to audiences of hundreds, thousands. At worst, they fund them. Wow. Absolutely mind-blowing, people. So these are the cartel hats that can really get you smoked out here, okay? I'm not condoning it. I'm not glorifying it, all right? I want to say I condemn it gently to satisfy Google and YouTube, but I don't want to condemn them too hard because I don't want to get hurt by them. I do condemn all criminal activity, and obviously all of the murders and the horrific acts committed in this video are definitely to be condemned. And you know, I'm sending my condolences to everybody involved in this situation. Very interesting to hear how the fashion has affected these incidents. I do find it interesting. I will be following along. I have been kind of reporting on some of the cartel stuff a little bit here and there where I feel comfortable, but this iceberg is clearly a lot deeper than we could have ever thought it was. So if I hear anything else interesting, anything else is in the media, in the mainstream media, and other people are talking about it, I'll be sure to let you guys know. Probably not going to be doing no more deep dives. I'm not going to apply my research skills too hard to these guys because I'm actually genuinely scared. But it is super interesting. They got their own, they got a military wing, they got a drug ring, they got a streetwear ring. It's insane. Okay, so I hope you found that interesting. I definitely find it very interesting, even though I don't condone it. I'm going to leave it there, but I'll see you guys with some more videos. I've got a couple more videos coming soon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.